Hello, welcome back to Black Bear Forge. The last time we looked at our andiron project, I was straightening out the square bar that was a little bit off on the diamond, and I promised I would check it for square, see how close we came. And well, it may not be perfect to the absolute 90-degree mark. It's probably within 89 degrees, no matter how you check it. So that's a good thing. These are much better off than they were. And yes, both of them are the same now, so that's a good thing. The next step then is to prepare this both to go onto a set of legs. These need feet out in front so they have multiple points of contact, otherwise they kind of tip over. And it needs a hole through it so I can do a mortise and tenon joint to join the fire dog part, the part that actually holds the logs. Now when I do that, the legs are going to hold this up off the ground a little bit. And I think this is starting to get a little bit taller than I really want it to be in the long run. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these at 12 inches. Because this is just a 1-inch square bar or 25mm square bar, I don't think I want these too tall. If I wanted a great big set of tall andirons, I would have gone to 1.25 inches, even 1.5 inches material. I think this would just look too small. Plus, as I say, this is going to get taller again when we put the legs under it. So in addition to cutting this off at that point, I'm going to then use this also as a place to just come back the thickness of my square, and this is where the shoulder for my tenon is going to go. So I'm going to go cut these off, and I'll meet you right back here at the bench. Now I'm just going to lightly score with an angle grinder where I want my tenon to start, the shoulder, and that score line will index into the butcher's under the guillotine tool and make it much easier to get the shoulder exactly where I want it so both pieces are exactly the same. So that creates a nice line. We'll be able to find an index. Really helps guarantee we do this just exactly the way we want to. And I think it's worth that little bit of extra step. Now I'm going to come down to 10 inches here. And we are going to center punch mark this right in the center here. And this is where we will slit and drift the hole for the fire dog to come into this. Let's take a look at a little bit of tooling here. We're going to use the guillotine tool with butchering dies to set this shoulder. Because we put a groove in there, that indexes very nicely. And we will just set the shoulder. We're not going to try and go full depth. It's easy to create a cold shut if you go a little bit too far. So we're just going to establish it there. Then I will rough this in under the power hammer, and I'll do all that at welding heat. Because this is a forge weld, I don't want to break it apart. I can't see it in my cut where I cut it off, so the forge weld is good now, but you could still shear it if you're not careful. So I'm going to do all that at a welding heat. Once that is close to the right size, roughed out under the power hammer, I will go to a tenoning die. This is a 2-size tool. The first one's a little oversized and it flares out. It's kind of a butcher. Doesn't work as well as I'd hoped it would. But the second one is exact size, and we'll refine that tenon in there, and that will give us our exact size tenon. Then we'll come back and we'll do the slit and drift. I have 2 chisels to cut with. I can use this short one held in a pair of tongs with a striker under the treadle hammer or under the power hammer. And I have a long one that I can use by hand here at the anvil. We'll just see what works out the best. Then I have a drift that is a little undersized and is a flat taper that will fit in the slit left by the slitting chisel. And this is a 3-piece, this is a set that go together to make one size hole. And this is a 5/8 hole. So as it gets ready for this, we will put the monkey tool on the tenon. We will drive that back to upset this, opening the hole, driving it through to create a round hole with that, and final size with this drift, which is the exact size we want the hole. I hope that all makes sense. If it doesn't, hopefully it will before we are completely finished. But I'm going to leave the forge going so I can keep it up at welding heat for all this. It'll go a little bit faster and easier, and it'll help guarantee we don't damage our forge weld. With the exception of one weld that started to separate a little bit, this pretty much went just the way I had envisioned it and what I had in mind. I think this is going to work fine, and even with that little bit of a weld separation, I don't think it's the end of the world. This isn't some big structural thing. It's kind of an ornament that stands next to the fireplace, and it keeps logs from rolling out. It never has to hold a lot of weight, and that weld separation is just a little bit on this backside here. It does not come all the way through. It doesn't really even come down into where the tenon is here. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I suppose if you really didn't like it, you could take a welder and put a little bead in there with MIG, TIG, or even a torch and close that up. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to let it stay there as an honest testament to the process that was used to create this piece, but I will turn it to the inside so it doesn't show on the front of the piece. Another thing you can see is I got this hole a little off, and that might be because of that weld separation made this side move a little easier than this side that was still heavier and connected. But in any case, I think we can work with that. I think we can fix that. There are a number of things I have in mind that we can use to keep the piece centered when it's all done. The actual bulge here doesn't look all that bad. It's just that the hole is not in the center of that bulge. But like I say, I think we can fix that. The next step on our andiron project then will be to make feet so that these are up off the ground and that they don't want to tip over left to right. And then the final thing that we'll do in another video will be to make the fire dog, the part that the logs actually sit on, that then also provides the third foot so these don't tip over backwards or forwards. Neither one of those is all that difficult. It should be fairly straightforward. I think for the feet, we're going to do something with a little scroll that turns under and maybe about that wide out from the side. We'll see when we get there and we'll take a look at it. Once we get all that done, I'll do some cleaning up on these that maybe we'll show as a video and maybe not. Mostly it's just going to be getting in here with a file and making sure this is all clean and that everything is symmetrical. Make sure these ears look good and they're symmetrical. So I think 2 more videos, one for the feet, one for the fire dog, and we'll assemble each of those components when we do the video. And then we should have a nice pair of andirons all done. Be the first pair of andirons I've ever made. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button down there. Feel free to stick around, watch a few of the other videos, share the videos with your friends. If you'd like to provide financial support for the videos here at Black Bear Forge, there are links in the video description for both PayPal and Patreon. Those are merely donation. The content is free. In the meantime, I hope you have time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, but stay safe. Wear your safety glasses. We'll see you for the next one.